Hello and welcome back to TVP World. My name is Alex Smolinski, and these are the latest updates in the world news. And we begin with news from Lithuania, where following a 6-day operation, an American armored vehicle has been recovered from a peat bog in eastern Lithuania. The Lithuanian defense minister has said that the extraction lasted 4.5 hours after 2 ropes were attached to that vehicle.
So far, there's no information about the crew of the M88 recovery vehicle, which consisted of 4 American soldiers. During last week's exercise at a military training area near the Belarusian border, the U.S. Army vehicle, one of the largest armored recovery vehicles in use by U.S. military, got stuck some 4 meters below the surface of the water and under 2 meters of mud. As part of the nearly week-long operation, NATO forces set to build and widen forest roads, as well as strengthen the banks of the reservoir in order to transport heavy equipment on site. American, Lithuanian and Polish soldiers took part in the rescue efforts.
The ministers of foreign affairs for Poland, France, Germany, Italy and Spain are gathering in Madrid for a summit of the so-called European Big Five. As stated by the Spanish foreign minister, José Manuel Albares, it will be one of the most important summits of the year.
Albares has said that the main objective of the meeting is to coordinate effective support for Ukraine in achieving a just and lasting peace with Russia. He noted that the first step in this direction would be for both parties to stop hostilities. The Polish delegation to Madrid is led by Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, who before leaving Warsaw said the summit in Madrid will be an opportunity to discuss matters of European security and further military, financial and political aid for Ukraine. It marks another meeting of the 5 EU foreign ministers. The first one took place in November 2024 in Warsaw and the latest one in the beginning of February in Paris.
The Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and his Minister of Defense, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, will sign a deal with the United States on the delivery of logistical support for the second phase of the Vistula program. According to Kosiniak-Kamysz, the agreement will allow Patriot launchers in Poland, which are the central element of Polish air defense, to become fully operational.
The deal with the United States involves logistical and training support for the Polish armed forces. According to the Polish defense minister, Poland is heavily investing in security and is the second country after the United States to acquire the newest Patriots, equipped with an integrated air and missile defense battle command system. The main goal of the Vistula program is protection against tactical short-range ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, bomber aircraft and unmanned aerial vehicles.
While on board Air Force One, U.S. President Donald Trump said that his Ukrainian counterpart might be attempting to renegotiate the rare earths agreement with the United States. And he commented on Vladimir Putin's demands for the installation of a transitional government in Kyiv. When asked about a potential nuclear deal with Iran, the U.S. president also hinted that he is considering military action to achieve his goals.
Some of the things that were said over the last day or two having to do with Zelensky, because when he considers Zelensky not credible, he's supposed to be making a deal with him, whether you like him or you don't like him. So I wasn't happy with that, but I think he's going to be good. And I certainly wouldn't want to put secondary tariffs on Russia, but if they were put on, it would not be very good for them. And I think Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal on rare earth, and now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems. But we're going to make a decision on secondary tariffs on Iran based on whether or not they're going to make a deal. If they're going to make a deal, then we're never going to put secondary tariffs on. We're going to hope they have a great, long, and successful life as a country. But we'll see what happens. It's very interesting. I can't imagine them doing anything else but making a deal. I would prefer a deal to the other alternative, which I think everybody in this plane knows what that is. And that's not going to be pretty, and I do not prefer that.
Moscow and Washington have begun discussions on potential joint projects involving rare earth metals, with a focus on mining in Russia and Russian-controlled areas of Ukraine. Kirill Dmitriev, Russia's special envoy for international economic cooperation, recently confirmed that talks are in progress, and some companies have already expressed interest, though details do remain scarce. These discussions could be further explored in the upcoming U.S.-Russia talks, reportedly set to take place in Saudi Arabia in mid-April. The move comes after Vladimir Putin's February offer to work with U.S. companies on rare earth mining, as the U.S. looks to counter Russia's dominance in the sector. U.S. President Donald Trump has shown interest in Russia's resources, with discussions about potential deals on minerals, including in occupied Ukrainian territories, already underway. And Russia launched yet another drone attack on Ukraine on Sunday night, lasting into Monday morning, targeting the Kharkiv region of the country. At least 3 people suffered injuries. 6 explosions were heard in the Kievsky district in Kharkiv, that is according to local residents. One drone hit a local business, igniting a massive fire that covered an area of 3,900 square meters. The explosions also damaged apartment buildings, a kindergarten, a culture and sports center, and several cars. Emergency services were deployed to deal with the aftermath of the attack. Rescue dogs were also involved in the efforts. President Trump said he is, quote, very angry and pissed off at the Russian leader for questioning the legitimacy of the Ukrainian president. Now, Trump is threatening Russia with secondary tariffs if he determines Vladimir Putin is stalling on a ceasefire. Meanwhile, deadly attacks on Ukraine continue, and Ukrainians mark the 3rd anniversary since the liberation of Bucha, a scene of mass killings, rapes, and other war crimes committed by the Russian forces before fleeing the city in 2022. Firefighters are working tirelessly as emergency services comb through the wreckage of destroyed homes. This is the aftermath of the latest Russian attacks on Ukraine's city of Kharkiv, Ukraine's 2nd largest city. Russian drones struck a military hospital, shopping center, apartment blocks, and other targets. President Zelensky stated that Ukraine expects a response from the United States, Europe, and all its allies to the terror directed at Ukrainians.
Russia is dragging out the war, and we are providing our partners with full information on the strikes the Russian army is carrying out and the actions it is preparing for.
Sunday saw the residents of the city Bucha pay their respects and remember the victims of the massacre committed there by Russian forces. It took place during the fight for and subsequent occupation of the city during the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022.
I remember that day. I was in territorial defense at that time, and my unit was one of the first to enter Bucha, Irpin, and Hostomel. And what we saw was a horror, absolutely. That shows the real face of Russians.
According to Kyiv, more than 1,400 people were killed in Bucha during the occupation, including 37 children. More than 175 people were found in mass graves and torture chambers, and 9,000 Russian war crimes have been identified. 1 year later, following an investigation of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. Now, the European Union and the Council of Europe are setting up a new international court to prosecute Russian leaders for their involvement and planning of the Ukrainian invasion.
We should not only prosecute those who committed these awful crimes, but those who committed the most awful crime, to start the war in the middle of the Europe in 21st century.
The new court is called the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine and is to be ready by the end of 2025. In a statement issued to present the new court, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said, "When Russia chose to roll its tanks over Ukraine's borders, breaking the UN Charter, it committed one of the gravest violations, the crime of aggression. Now, justice is coming." Alex Sumlinsky, TVP World. And now we head to the sea just off the Spanish coast in the Atlantic Ocean. NATO has officially launched the Dynamic Mariner 25 naval exercises. While the U.S. is not taking a leading role, there is a lot to consider for Spain, which spends the least on defense among NATO members. The upcoming NATO summit in the summer might see the 2% minimum spending requirement drastically increased.
This is what the Dynamic Mariner 25 drill looks like, a joint naval exercise held by the combined forces of several NATO member states, including Spain, France, Germany, Italy, Portugal and Turkey. Though the US forces were absent from the exercise, French Vice Admiral Didier Molitor, who serves as the vice head of NATO's Allied Maritime Command, or for short MARCOM, is certain the US is still a vital part of the bloc's naval architecture.
We are 32 members, and you can trust me, US Navy is supporting us, is contributing with their frigates, with a nuclear submarine, with a maritime patrol aircraft. They are participating in the Dynamic Mariner with the Spanish Navy and Turkish Navy.
The military official admitted that while nothing has changed so far in terms of the US involvement, NATO will soon hold vital security talks.
There is a new summit in La Haye in June, so there will be discussion about the capacity shared within NATO, and so there is a lot of discussion if 2% of GDP is enough. We know that through the regional plan, we need more. We need more to be able to deal with all those threats.
But NATO doesn't seem to be at sea with its capabilities.
We are very powerful. NATO at the moment is the largest military organization in the world, and the object during this exercise, particularly, it's interoperability, because we are 27 navies among the 32 nations. That's powerful. We need to work together, and this exercise is a great demonstration of our power.
And according to NATO officials, the bloc will aim to learn lessons from what has been going on in Ukraine, the Red Sea and the Pacific from a maritime point of view.
French far-right leader Marine Le Pen awaits a court ruling determining whether she is guilty of embezzlement. A guilty verdict would bar the head of the National Rally from running for office of the French president in 2027. Le Pen, leader of the far-right National Rally, along with some 24 other party figures, are accused of diverting more than €3 million of EU funds to pay France-based assistance. The defendants said the money was used legitimately, and the accusations define too narrowly what a parliamentary assistant does. Responding to the accusations, the National Rally called the trial, quote, a witch hunt. Marine Le Pen, according to the latest polls, would likely be the frontrunner in the 2027 French presidential elections. Prosecutors have asked that Le Pen face an immediate 5-year ban from running for public office if found guilty, regardless of any appeal process. India and China have sent relief supplies as well as rescue personnel to Myanmar in order to support the country after a deadly earthquake. The magnitude 7.7 tremor has killed more than 1,700 people, injured a further 3,400, and was felt as far as Thailand and southwest China. Responding to the catastrophe, the Red Cross and Red Crescent launched an appeal for $115 million to help the victims of the earthquake in Myanmar. The tremor's aftermath has been classified by the World Health Organization as a Grade 3 emergency, the highest level under the WHO's emergency response framework. Accordingly, the organization is asking for $8 million to deal with health challenges in Myanmar over the next month. And with that, we conclude this edition of The World News. But as always, do stay tuned to TVP World for more breaking news, updates, and commentary.